If you've purchased a bike in the last 5 to 10 years or so, or are looking to get a brand new bike, the chances are very, very high that you're not getting 100% of that bike that you paid for. Two of those points we're looking at right now, and one of them starts all the way down here. What I'll do is, just before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of this video, grab yourself a tea, a coffee, a beer, whatever it is, relax, hang out with me for 10 minutes or so, and hear me out on this topic, because I think I've got a very valid angle to come from, and I think a lot of people will agree with me. And also this might highlight a couple of issues that people might have with their bikes at the moment that they don't realize that they're having. And this is the perfect bike to do this on, because this thing is ride by wire, meaning that there is no cables going directly to the engine. A lot of older bikes or lower cc or cheaper bikes, they tend to still have a cable which runs directly from here. When you twist it, it tightens that cable, opens up the throttle bodies, and it injects some oil? It injects some fuel and air into that engine, whiz, bang, puff, boom, off you go. So you actually have a genuine mechanical connection to the engine via your throttle. Now, modern motorcycles, bigger bikes, and things like this Yamaha MT-09 right here has none of that. It's electronically decided what happens when you twist that throttle. So instead of a cable actuated throttle where you govern what the bike does, with the electronic throttle you're actually requesting, but the bike actually tells you what it's going to do. Now the problem with that is this is governed specifically to combat Euro 5 emissions, Euro 6, Euro 7 coming, and until eventually they don't want us leaving our house, because the way the world is going, we're almost about to be housebound VR robots that have no say in the planet. Anyway, before we get sidetracked with the government and aliens attacking us by 2029, this ride-by-wire system means that there's a lot more parameters that manufacturers can tweak, tone back and dial in so they can pass the Euro 5, 6, 7, 8 emissions, as I said. And this is my big point in contention with modern motorcycles. When you buy a bike off the lot, off a showroom, you buy a bike secondhand that somebody hasn't tuned, you're basically governed to the manufacturer's tuning and the electronic dialing in that they've given the bike. This bike from factory has a very well-known dead zone, which means when you full pin it in second gear, you might go full pin on here, but the bike actually governs that full throttle and doesn't give you full beans off the bat. Whereas if you go back to old school cable actuated throttle, if you twisted that in second gear full whack, you're going to get second gear full whack. And that is why a lot of people say older bikes feel more visceral. However, there is a fix to this, and this is where this scam comes in. And I know it's not a manufacturer's problem, they didn't do it on purpose, they're not setting you up. It's a bit of a play on words for this video, I fully understand. What I'm saying is, you need to tune your bike, you need to get them dyno tuned to take away all of those restrictions, so you literally get the choice of what you want when you twist the throttle. But what it has done now is removed every restriction from factory, so I have no RPM limitations, I have no throttle limitations. When I twist the throttle more, it doesn't dial back the power that I want, and I basically get the engine that is intended from Yamaha, which is a shame, because when you buy something like this MT-09, or you buy something a bit more flash, you might buy an R1, you might buy a Ducati, Panigale, you might even just buy a bog standard adventure, but overall you're putting down a lot of money to get a lot less performance than you're expecting from the bike. But that's a cute doggy. But cute doggies aside, the biggest problem with this whole setup at the moment that we've got going on with the ride-by-wire restrictions isn't the fact that you're not getting the full power, which in itself is something that I'm not a big fan of. If I buy a bike that says it has 120 odd horsepower, I want each and every 120 of those horses. But the main problem is, when you buy a bike, you want it to be smooth, comfortable, you want that rider feedback, you want to feel connected to the bike. Now, especially more prevalent when you've got parallel twins or single cylinder motors like my KTM back home, that too has the same issues it suffers from factory. Because the engine is restricted with fueling and airflow, it runs super lean, which means it's not getting as much fuel as it would like, which means they're very prone to stalling, they're very prone to running very hot, and they're very prone to being very jumpy and laggy. And anybody that knows this MT-09 knows there's a reason why people say MT-09s can be very jumpy on the throttle and very jerky. That is it. That is your answer there, people. It's because you need to get these bikes tuned. What a beautiful backdrop once again. I love coming down here. Such a nice little run. And it's such a nice little ride, especially on my bike because it has been tuned. The throttle is smooth. I get instant feedback. It's just such a nice, pleasant ride. What a beautiful backdrop, peeps. Look at that. Not a bad way to spend a quick Saturday afternoon. But just jumping back into this, I am not telling you you need to go out and get your bike tuned. That's what I'm trying to say here. That's completely on your own terms and up to you. I'm just telling you this is the fix if you do have any throttle jerkiness or uncomfortabilities riding your bike from a feedback perspective. And that's the difference when you get cable actuated throttle bikes tuned. They don't have the same parameters to tweak. They literally can only tweak the physical, mechanical side of things, i.e. they can only change the fueling and the air ratio. But when it comes to these modern electronic bikes, there's so many more parameters they can tune, and they can tweak out and dial in throttle response, throttle curves, things like that. And it changes the bike completely. Now, when I buy a new bike, as I have done here, this was brand new, the KTM I bought's brand new. If I buy a second-hand bike, I still put a contingency in my mind that I need to put an extra bit of money aside should I need to get the bike tuned, because I'm already in that mindset that most bikes from factory run terribly, to be honest. Can you deal with it? Yes, you can. Do most people notice? Half and half, but when you get a bit of experience or you're a bit more of a spirited rider like I might be, you really look out for these things and you really do feel them. Now, I know a lot of people will come back and say, if I picked a specific bike, if I said something like the Duke 1390, for example, someone out there watching this will defend that bike to the end of days. I'm not saying your bike's bad. I'm just saying have an objective look next time you go for a ride and see how the feedback feels on your bike, and possibly, if you have to, consider getting your bike tuned. It's going to cost a bit of money. It's a pain in the ass. That is where the little scam part I'm talking about of this video comes in. It's that thing that, as I said, when I buy a bike, I put an extra $1,000, $1,500 aside, knowing that it's going to cost me that on top should I need to get the bike running right. That's just the reality of modern day bikes. It's almost like another subscription service to our already subscription serviced world. Well, I think that's it. I can't really touch on much else other than the gist of what I'm saying. Just a quick follow up at the end of this. Do I think it's worth tuning your bike? If you're going to be holding onto a bike for a little bit longer than a year or a couple of years, and your bike does have a little bit of a jankiness feel to it and you're missing out on a little bit of a smooth ride, I would 100% recommend looking at forums, looking online and checking what other people have said. And if you can afford it, 100% yes. It really does change the riding style and comfortability of your bike, and it makes riding a lot more fun. But just to give you a little bit of a context here, once I had this bike tuned, it was almost like I fell in love with another bike all over again. And friends that have ridden this bike, I've got friends that own MT-09s and they've ridden back to back. Theirs feel very clunky, the quick shifter is very janky. Well, yeah, I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to say. As you guys know, I just give my little opinions on here. I'm not someone who comes across and tells you what you need to do and has the be-all and end-all answer. It's just a good thing that I thought a lot of people need to hear. So if you've got any opinions on this topic, please do let us know in the comments below. And if you want to know any questions about tuning, especially around this MT-09, because I know this bike inside and out, just drop a comment or hit me up on Instagram and give me a direct message. But with that being said, you guys stay shiny side up, rubber side down, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.